Could the Maple Leafs take a page out of the Hurricanes playbook with deferred payment contracts? We'll discuss just that on today's edition of the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.
You're Locked On Maple Leafs, your daily podcast on the Toronto Maple Leafs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome into the Locked On Leafs podcast, a daily Maple Leafs-centric podcast hosted by myself, Mike DiStefano, and my co-host, Dave Morassutti. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuelNow. Through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Yes, football starts this week, Dave. Thursday night football, we got Friday night football, and then all day Sunday, and then you got the Monday nighter. It's finally football week. Labor Day is here, which means hockey is very, very close to getting started. A couple of weeks, we'll start to see everyone reporting to camp. Really quickly, I think we want to start the show off just by saying sorry we did not get an episode out to you guys on Friday. Just as we were getting ready to sit down and record, we had heard the news of the passing of Johnny and Matthew Gaudreau tragically Friday. I guess it was Thursday night is when the incident happened, when they were struck by an alleged drunk driver, and both passed away. Really, really, really difficult stuff. So Dave and I decided to postpone the show. Thought it'd be a little tone deaf to get up here and start talking Leafs hockey when the whole was kind of shook and mourned by the Johnny Gaudreau news. So really, really, really difficult stuff. Hate that stuff like that happens in the world. Rest in peace to both Johnny and his brother Matthew, and our condolences go out to the Gaudreau family. I know that a GoFundMe has been started for their families. Matthew Gaudreau's wife was pregnant, a couple of months away from giving birth and having his child, and unfortunately we'll have to grow up without knowing who his father is because of such an unfortunate incident. And I believe I saw a bunch of Maple Leafs even donated to the cause. Lots of NHLers were donating to the cause. Just really, really sad stuff. Honestly, it's gone too soon. Obviously, Johnny just 31, Matthew 29. And an alleged drunk driving incident is what caused it too, which makes your heart break even more.
Yeah, every time I see a story or something, I just kind of shake my head in disbelief that it happened. And obviously some anger too of how it happened too, right? Like just senseless reason for two lives to be gone, right? For, as you said, kids to grow up without their parents, families that were supposed to be celebrating, what was supposed to be a great celebration weekend with the sister's wedding is now, been ruined because they have to grieve for two lives that should not have been lost. And yeah, just seeing all the tributes flood in, I think Brad Treliving's comments were like that hurt. Again, you understand that great hockey player in Johnny Gaudreau, and Matthew in his own right too, and also just the type of people they were.
Yeah,
on top of
that's something that I really, really learned about him, and it's really unfortunate that you had to learn about it after he was gone. And it's just sometimes we celebrate people too late, and it sounds like this is a situation when it comes to Johnny Gaudreau. Everyone, you couldn't find anyone who had a bad thing to say about him. Everyone talked about, he was a great player, a fantastic player, but an even better person. The type of dude who would just, always be there to help you out, and, salt of the earth kind of guy. We were speaking with Brian Burke on Overdrive on Friday, and he said, Johnny Gaudreau, one of the best Flame ambassadors while he was there, always ready to go and never turned down like any communal community outreach, you know, plan that they had in place. He was always ready to go to help the community and was a big part of that one. I'm sure it was the same once he got to Columbus there. You saw the outpour from the fans showing up to Nationwide Arena in Columbus and the Saddle Dome in Calgary, laying flowers and Skittles and Gatorade and hockey sticks and pucks, just in honor of him, to show the love that, and then sad that he's gone, really, really sad. And
The
tough.
other one that hurt me too was the day before Sean Monahan was on a podcast. I can't remember the show
Yeah.
right off the top of my head, and talking about how much he's gonna was loving the fact he was gonna be reunited with Gaudreau. Like
Yeah.
he synced up his contract to what Gaudreau had remaining in Columbus.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. 5 years left, I guess, would have been. Yeah, you're right. I did see that clip. That was a bit of a heartbreaking clip too to
Yeah.
see, floating around there. And look, life comes at you fast. It really, really does. So be, you know, hu- hug your loved ones a little extra tighter for the next little bit because you never know, what's going to come at you. But yeah, rest in peace to both Johnny and Matthew Gaudreau, and my heart goes out to the Gaudreau family and all their close friends and family and relatives who obviously are still devastated to this day, by the tough weekend that I'm sure that family had to endure. Which you noted it. They're supposed to be celebrating a wedding that weekend. Turned out to be a much worse situation. Okay, let's decompress. We'll take one quick break. When we get back, let's get into the Seth Jarvis deal. A really interesting contract was signed over the weekend out in Calgary with deferred payments. We saw it happen with Shohei Ohtani, but we have not seen it creep up in the NHL until now. Could the Maple Leafs maybe start to use this to their advantage? Well, we'll talk about it. So we'll get into that. And it's Monday, so we got a blind ranking that you have to do, my friend. So that's all coming up next here on the Locked On Leafs podcast. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. You've heard us talk a lot about FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Well, we got something a little different for you. Now through April 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. The YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon at a market game. All you need is a Google account and your current form of payment, and you can cancel any time. And with football starting up this week, now's the perfect time to get that going. Just visit FanDuel.com, download America's #1 sportsbook. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Welcome back into the Locked On Leafs podcast with myself, Mike DiStefano, and Dave Morassutti. So there was a really interesting contract that was signed over the weekend, Dave, that caught the eye of many around the NHL. Seth Jarvis, one of the late RFA signees, but he gets his deal done before training camp, so he'll be there ready to go day one. Seth Jarvis, famously from the Patrick Marleau draft pick, should have been a Leaf. We all know, we always talk about that. So there's another little wrinkle to the Seth Jarvis deal. And looks like he was willing to help out the Hurricanes a little bit too, when it comes to their cap. Really interesting contract. So Seth Jarvis, it's an 8-year deal that'll pay him a total of $63.2 million, which should be an AAV in the range of $7.9 million. That is what the AAV should be for a contract like that. However, Dave, Seth Jarvis has agreed to have $15.67 million of that contract deferred until after the deal expires. It's only one day after the deal expires, but he'll get a big fat signing bonus of over $15 million on July 1st of 2032 once the contract is over. And because of that, the Carolina Hurricanes will actually save 5.4% in cap space of that deal each year, which means it, instead of being 7.9 AAV, it's about 7.4 and change AAV. So it's just a little more than $400,000 in cap savings every year because of this deferred payments. What kind of went through your mind when you saw that? And then afterwards, we can kind of look at it and see if this is something we expect to see going moving forward.
Well, I think the big one is like, oh, you can actually defer salary in an NHL contract. That was like the first thing
Yeah,
I thought of. Like, I didn't know it was actually possible because we hadn't really seen it before. Because again, you mentioned the Shohei Ohtani example. The NFL does it too with players, deferring salary, but it's a little more complicated because
like
of how
restructuring contracts, and they don't have guaranteed contracts though, so
no,
that's what makes it a little more, yeah,
but like
different.
there'll be like cap hits charged after the fact
Yeah,
too, so that makes it like adds a little wrinkle to it. But yeah, I was like, that's kind of strange, but like from I was like, okay, well, that actually kind of makes sense for like the Hurricanes to do if they want to get a little bit of savings. I thought like also it's nice that Seth Jarvis could get if he decides that he's not returning with the Hurricanes, he'll still get paid, or if something happens, he'll still get paid that deal because obviously NHL contracts are guaranteed. And
yep,
so I was trying to figure out why players don't do this more often, or why teams don't try to get players to do it. And it goes back to a lot. I think Friedman said it. Chris John said it. I even think Frank Saravalli said it too.
yeah,
Like all these players like to get paid up front. They don't want to wait to get paid. They
no,
want to make their money right away. No better example than the Leafs, who pay out like almost like 80% of the contract of all these big contracts they've signed within like the first few years.
yeah, big fat signing bonuses right off the top yeah, to that's what they use. So it's like the complete opposite of what the Carolina Hurricanes are doing.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it makes sense. It's definitely more team friendly, I think, to do this. It if you're not getting your money right away, they do have like, so Seth Jarvis is getting, I think it's 5.4% of interest on top of the deferred payments, which is what
Yeah.
makes it, up to $15 million. So because of that 5.4% interest, he is getting, he's investing that money, I guess, for 8 years down the road. But, that said, if he had the money up front, there's a good chance he could turn that into something, turn that into something a little better than 5.4% if
Yep.
he were to invest it, properly, I suppose. So it's not player friendly, I guess, is what you could say. It definitely does favor the team more than it does the player. It allows the team to keep the money in house for a little bit longer and stretch, those dollars. So I think this is something we'll probably more see happen with, internal cap teams as opposed to behemoths like the Maple Leafs, who on the opposite end, to attract players, they prefer to, and maybe we'll see something different, but typically they've been prone to, like you said, front loading those contracts with heavy signing bonuses right off the top, as opposed to on the back end. But that said, now that we found out that this is a way to circumvent the cap a little bit and create a little extra cap space, maybe we will see it a little bit more often.
Well, apparently, like the Vegas Golden Knights try to get Jonathan Marchessault to sign a deal similar to it, where they would do a little
Oh,
bit of deferred payment, but he's like, "Now I'll just go to Nashville instead.
well,
They'll just
yeah,
pay
there
me
you
it."
go. Because
I think
another,
I
well,
think
because
Slavin also has a similar thing too, where he's getting a little bit of deferred side, not to the extent that Jarvis is, but apparently Slavin also got a little bit of that too.
well, so another big reason, and I just want to go back to the Marchessault thing,
Mhm.
is, I mean, you noted, he just said, "I'm just gonna go to Nashville." Well, Nashville's a tax-free state. A big reason why deferment was a thing for Shohei Ohtani was because, California's a high tax state. So he deferred a lot of his money till basically when he's done. So after the 10-year contract is over, he's out of there, right? So whatever money he's making is not going to be taxed from within California tax codes, it'll be wherever he's residing at that time, which probably is going to be Japan, much cheaper tax situation. So when you talk about Marchessault, I think it's a cheaper tax situation, I guess, in Nashville. Actually, I'm not sure what the Nevada tax
I
situation
think
is.
Nevada is
Might be
also a no
similar.
tax state,
Yeah, it
if I'm
might be
not
a no tax
mistaken.
state. But when we talk about Toronto, I saw some people say, "Oh, maybe you can do Tavares or Mitch Marner." Chances are those players are going to continue to live in Canada, where the tax situation is going to be the exact same. So it wouldn't necessarily benefit them. However, if it were someone like Matthews, who maybe you did it with, and then afterwards he leaves and goes to wherever he's going to go, some no tax state, presumably, maybe that would be more enticing to American players or to European players. I don't know if it would really work all that well with Canadian players, just because it's not good. They're not going to get those tax savings, that tax benefit. They'll get that 5.4% interest escalator tacked on, so they will get that. But when they get taxed on it eventually, it's still going to end up being quite a hefty number at the end of the day. So I don't know if it necessarily is going to benefit Canadian players, could benefit Canadian teams, just maybe not Canadian players as much.
Yeah, it all depends on, as you said, like there's so many factors when it comes to where you're staying. Like the Otani example is perfect because he could literally say, "Okay, I'm leaving California to go and live in like Florida or something or
Yeah,
whatever,"
yeah.
and like he could file his income taxes there, even though he's getting paid by the Dodgers. It's so weird, but these are like little loopholes that now they're starting to find, so that these guys can make whatever they need to make, work. And like I remember people were like, "Oh, why couldn't the Jays do a contract like that?" I mean, they probably thought about it, but it probably wasn't something they were willing to do based on, again, tax situations in Canada are a little different than in the States, right? And I'm sure Otani's, during his time with the Angels, figured out ways around the California tax situation with his previous deals. So, but yeah, I don't see the Leafs personally. I don't see the Leafs doing this unless like a player's doing a 1-year deal. Like I think Shane Doan did a 1-year deal with Arizona, and they did it where he was paid $4 million, but part of that was deferred to a second year. So I they don't have a guy like Tavares is not signing a 1-year deal. Mitch Marner's
No,
not
but
signing a 1-year deal.
so let me throw this out, because David Alter wrote a piece on the Hockey News actually, and he talked about these two players in particular and if it would make sense or how the Leafs could possibly utilize this method. And he used a John Tavares example for here's something the Leafs could do if he and John Tavares wanted to do something like that. So he says, say the Leafs wanted to give Tavares, who's a free agent the upcoming season, his fair market value, but they don't want the salary cap hit to be larger than $3 million. You could find a way to pay him like a $5 million a year player while getting the AAV number down to $3 million during the season. So the way that would work is essentially you would be able to defer. So it's a 5-year, $5 million deal. So it's 25 million bucks, but you defer about $4.255 million per year. Or that's all you pay him, sorry, is 4.255 per year, and you defer the rest, and that would end up with a annual cap hit of 3.174. So that would be like a way to kind of do it if Tavares wanted to do that. But again, he's probably going to want the money up front. Why he's going to defer and then just get what at $21 million at the end of the contract. Actually, yeah, I think he's deferring 4.255. So it'd only be making like a league minimum contract. So that would kind of be the situation there, which again doesn't seem likely to happen.
Not
Uh,
likely to happen, but at the same time, the Leafs could sell it on it. And I don't know. I'd like to make my money, continue making money even after I'm not playing. So it'd be nice to have a little paycheck coming in. Like
yeah,
it's not like Tavares hasn't made money. He has
that's
made
true.
quite a bit of money, and obviously I know he's dealing with that CRA tax situation, but I'm sure he's
imagine what this would do to that situation.
Madness here is just like, hold on here. Like, let's make sure that we get this straight. How are we gonna benefit from this so these players don't benefit from it?
Yeah, that is him specifically though.
He's already
got a red flag right now.
Yeah, he's got a flag on everything right now.
Yeah, but it'll be interesting to see if this becomes more common in the NHL. I've seen, some people suggest maybe that the Oilers look at Leon Draisaitl's contract that way, maybe a way to get the cap hit down, just so that you don't have two massive hits with McDavid and Leon. Like maybe that's a way to try and save a little bit of space per year. We'll see. We'll see what they end up doing. Also, that's a lot of money for Seth Jarvis, isn't it? By the way, like basically
they're betting big on him
almost
really breaking out. Like he's been a good player for them, but is he that good?
Like to me, he's like he's like maybe a $6 million player a year.
I'd say at most like
he's getting
6.5, 7, like max.
7 seems like a stretch to me, but he's getting essentially 7.9 million a year, basically 8 million a year. Seems a little high to me, but hey, maybe he does break out and become a superstar with the Carolina Hurricanes. They're gonna need it, man. They lost a lot this year, so they're definitely banking on him coming up big for sure. All right, let's take another break here, Dave. We'll come back. Let's get into the blind ranking. We're looking at defensemen around the NHL. Any defenseman. Minimum 10 games. That's the only qualifier. Minimum of 10 games played this past season in the NHL. So this time you're going to have to put together the ranking with the names that I supply you blindly. So that's coming up next here on the Locked On Leafs podcast. Welcome back into the Locked On Leafs podcast with Mike DiStefano and Dave Morassutti. We are here each and every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for the next couple of weeks. And then starting on, the 16th, I think, we're back to full go when training camps kind of open up daily, Monday through Friday, 5 shows a week, all the way through until the end of next July. So we've got a lot of content coming up for you in the next few weeks. So you're going to want to be subscribed to the Locked On Leafs podcast, wherever you get your podcast from, and also up on YouTube. All right, we've been doing this each and every Monday throughout the off season. So we only got a couple more left before it's go time and we, get to the fun stuff. But we've been looking at blind ranking different position groups. We started with Maple Leafs position groups from the organization and its history, and now we're just taking a look at some defensemen, modern day defensemen in the league that played at least 10 games last season in the NHL. And Dave does not know the list of 8 that I currently have in front of me, but he has to try and blindly rank these 8 defensemen. So we'll see how he does. Are you ready to go?
Let's do this.
All right, let's get it on. The first name that I'm going to give you, David, is going to have a little Maple Leafs flair to it. And it's going to be the new Toronto Maple Leaf. It's going to be Oliver Ekman-Larsson.
Ooh, that's a good one to start off. I'll go number 3.
Number 3 for OEL. Man, you hate Oliver Ekman-Larsson, eh?
Yeah, he's a scrub. Why did the Leafs sign him?
Number 3. So you're hoping that there's some top end players on this list then.
Swear to God, if there's no top end players, I'm not gonna be happy about this.
I'm not saying there is. I'm not saying there's not. I'm just saying. That's what you're kind of banking on by putting him at number 3. All right. I'll give you my next player here, Dave. The next player on my list is Arber Xhekaj.
Arber Xhekaj.
Tough as nails defenseman. Was once working at Costco in Hamilton, Ontario, like months before becoming a Montreal Canadiens player. It's kind of a hilarious backstory. But Arber Xhekaj.
I'll go 5.
You're gonna go number 5 for Arbor Jack Guy?
Yeah, like he's okay. He's also had a tough time staying healthy.
Yes, this is very true. Had a stint in the minors last year. He did get sent down to the American League. Didn't stick the full season in Montreal. Did come up, played decent, but they're hoping that he can certainly turn into a bona fide NHLer for him. Because if you can be passable as a defensive player, I guess not be a liability, and also bring the physical traits that he does, you need that on a team. And I think Montreal's hoping he can become kind of that staple, like a poor man Zadorov kind of thing for them. All right, the next player I would like you to blindly rank, Dave. I'm looking at Gustav Forsling.
Ooh, actually, a really good player.
He is a really good player. That everyone realized it this year. I think this was kind of his breakout season where he became like a bona fide top pair guy. I think NHL ranked him it might have ranked him in the top 10 for defensemen this year. He got a quite high ranking, I remember.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like back-to-back seasons where he had 39 this year, 41 the year before that. I know you've been a big Forsling fan.
Mm-hmm.
Just
extremely reliable defensively as well.
Do you have anyone better than him on your list? That's my question. I'm gonna go number 2 for him. I like him more than OEL, just because he was crucial for them in the playoffs too.
He is also just better than OEL.
He is, but yeah, there's a reason why he's got an 8-year deal signed. Was it last year he got it signed?
Yeah, and they signed that, and it was before the breakout, so he got a real sweet deal. I think it's somewhere in the 6s. I think it's a sweetheart deal, maybe even cheaper than that. It was a good deal. It was like
8-year, $46 million deal, so works out to 5.75.
Yeah, 5.75 for a top pair defenseman, puck mover. Really, really solid deal for the Florida Panthers. Okay, so Gus Forsling, you're putting in the 2-hole.
Yeah,
where are you gonna slot our boy Connor Timmins?
Connor Timmins. Oh man. I'll go number 6.
Number 6 for Connor Timmins. So you're thinking
Connor Timmins.
Oh, sorry. I should also say we're talking Connor Timmins regular season, not preseason Connor Timmins.
Preseason
Connor, not Connor. Right?
Yeah.
Still want to go 6?
You know what? I'll go 7. Just in case.
You thought I was talking preseason Connor Timmins.
I mean, it was a great preseason.
Preseason Connor Timmins might have been a 4-hole guy. All right. So you've got Connor Timmins coming in at number 7. All right. Coming in, the next player I'm going to put on your radar is going to be Brent Burns. You've got 1, 4, and 6 available.
I'll go 4.
Brent Burns at number 4.
Yeah. So I already know number 1's going to be a friggin' scrub at this point, but I can't put Brent Burns ahead of the other guys out on the list. He's a guy that a few years ago would have put him a lot higher, but his game has taken a decline. Personally, for me, a bit. Like he's been a lot. He's still putting up production, no doubt about it. But I don't know if he's like, if you're looking at defenseman right now, I don't know if he's the first guy you're thinking of in some way.
Well, definitely not. I mean, now that he's with Carolina, I mean, you're always gonna be overshadowed, I guess, by Jacob Slavin. Speaking of Jacob Slavin, no, I'm kidding. It would have been funny.
I would have been like, okay, that's what he's.
No, the next player on my list is going to be Quinn Hughes.
Quinn Hughes. Oh, I'm definitely going number 1 for Quinn Hughes.
Yeah, you did get Quinny Hughes in at number 1. I tried to tempt you to move Forsling into the 1 hole. I thought I'd give you a chance to do so.
I was very close. I was very tempted. I was very close. I'm like, is he gonna give me anyone better? And I don't know. I'm like, yeah, Quinn Hughes is a no doubt number 1.
Absolutely. He is the top guy on the board. So I'm telling you right now that
Thank
is
God.
that
I was
is
like worried that
correct.
like a Kale McCarr was gonna come out and I have that guy in the 6th hole, and I'm like,
No, I was hoping you would put Forsling at number 1. Like I had Quinn Hughes low enough on like my
yeah,
list where I was hoping you got to a point where you're like, oh, Forsling's pretty good. There's not many other slots left. I'll put him at number 1. But you did a good job staying away from the bait, and you put him at 2 rightfully, and you had Quinn Hughes at number 1. And which means you've got one more guy who you are putting in the 6 hole, and it's Brendan Dillon. Brendan Dillon going in the 6 hole. I'll tell you what, Dave. So I'll tell you the list right now for the people.
yeah.
So you've got Quinn Hughes at number 1, Gustav Forsling at number 2, OEL at number 3, Brent Burns at number 4, Arbor Jack Guy at number 5, Brendan Dillon at number 6, and Connor Timmins, not Connor Timmins, regular season, Connor Timmins at number 7. Pretty good ranking, buds. Pretty good ranking.
I'm good with that.
I think the only I would
Brandon
probably
Dillon is the. I would have switched Dillon and Jack Guy, and maybe I would have put Brent Burns ahead of OEL.
That's what I would have done. That's what to me it would have been the correct ranking. Like Hughes, Forsling, Burns, OEL, Brendan Dillon, Jack Guy, then Timmins. You could make the argument. Now they're 2 totally separate players, but you could make the argument for Dillon over OEL. But
right,
you know, on a Locked On Leaf show, we'll give the tie to the Maple Leaf.
absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Good stuff, Dave. That was fun as always. Appreciate doing those. They are a lot of fun. So we'll do another one again next Monday where you will put together the list and I will have to blindly rank the players. That will do it for us here today on the podcast. I'd like to thank you all for listening and supporting the show. You can subscribe to the Locked On Leafs pod on all platforms and receive daily Leafs content. Follow myself on Twitter at Mickey_Canuck. Follow Dave at D_Morassutti, and follow the show as well at Locked On Leafs. We'll be back with another episode for you guys on Wednesday. But until then, keep it locked right here on Locked On Leafs.